This podcast is part of the 80s Ruled Network. Visit the 80s Ruled on Facebook for more 1980s awesomeness.
Saying my genitals could get superpowers? I'm in.
The days of me shoving spiders down my pants are over.
All right. Hey, welcome back to another episode of 1980s Now. Oh, you want to hear that again? A weekly examination of the importance of 1980s pop culture and its influence today. Hey, everybody out there. My name's Will. And joining me, as always, are my friends, and they're also my co-hosts, Kat and John. Hey, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hello. How you going?
Hey, on today's show, we're going to be getting an update on the roughly 36, I don't know how we're going to do this yet, reboots, remakes, and sequels to the 1980s movies and TVs we love that we've been promised in the last few years. You know, look, this is the time, right? There's a combination of us being, I wouldn't say we're at peak consumer level, because that might have been, I think marketers would probably say that was a few years ago. But, you know, we still have, you know, we're still young enough to be buying things and consuming products that appeal to us. And folks of our generation are in positions of power to make those things happen. So what's that combination lead to? Bunch of, threatened sequels, reboots.
Capitalizing on our childhood.
So,
story of our lives.
And some of these, you know, I guess part of what we'll talk about is whether we even want to see these things or not. I'm guessing we could probably answer that now without even naming a single one of those. But
Probably.
It's going to depend. It depends on how beloved and how perfect the first version was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing on this list that I think they could take another crack at. And it seems like they're going to.
I can't wait to hear what that is.
Okay, hey, but before that, we're going to review current news stories related to 1980s media. And this week, we're going to chat about which actor will take the fall for Hollywood's next reboot. So look, even in the news, we're talking about reboots here.
Yes.
Who will tear out throats and our hearts in Patrick Swayze's absence? And which video game legend is waka working on a movie? Waka working on a movie? Waka working on a movie? I don't know.
Waka working.
One of those. Editor, take the best one.
It'll work.
Okay, hey. But before we do any of that, I wanted to let you guys know, hey, I don't know if you remember, man. It's like this button's connected to John when I press it. Look, he's like a mild electric shock to him there.
It's not mild.
Hey, a couple of years ago, we spoke with a parapsychologist, Brandon Masulo.
Yes.
And this guy wrote a book, and I've got it around in here somewhere. Where is it? Something about the ghost studies. There it is. And I really liked Brandon's take on his explanations for what ghosts, quote unquote ghosts, could be. And they're based in science. And it's really fascinating. So if you want to find out about that, read the ghost studies. But I just learned that Brandon has actually taken a crack at shedding light on ghostly lore in the county of Medina, Ohio, where there's a number of ghost stories there, including the 1906 specter, known as the Woman in Black, that was so terrifying that a curfew was imposed.
For her or the people in the town?
Hey, no hunting after 9.
Ma'am, please. You're gonna have to dial it back after 10. Enough with the chains.
Legend has it that about 100 years ago, there was a witch that preyed on the residents of one particular township, and a ghost of a teenage boy is said to haunt the men's restroom at the Plum Creek Park in Brunswick Hills, Ohio. So there's a number of different ghost stories. And again, Brandon is a parapsychologist.
Wait.
Backtrack.
Yeah. I realized I did that. Yeah.
How does the ghost haunting the men's restroom manifest itself?
Oh, no.
How does it exhibit its ghostly appearance?
Are you just a guy with a sheet over your head? No, I'm a teenage ghost.
No, I'm a ghost. Take off your pants.
I swear you look corporeal. No.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, but you cannot just blow past haunting the men's room.
Well, the good news is that Brandon gets to the bottom of these stories in his new book, Haunted Medina County, Ohio, which is coming out August 22nd. It's available now for pre-order, and if you're depending on when you hear it, you can probably just snatch it up on Amazon or wherever books are sold. Brando was a great guy. And
It sounded like you said, if you're pretending you want to hear
if
it.
you're pretending you want to hear it, it's not on audio. So you got to pretend real hard. Could be on audio eventually. I don't know. It's not yet.
Hey, yeah.
All right. Hey, yeah. And I'm going to check out that book because, again, so you don't have to believe in the supernatural, but you just have to believe in science, I guess. It's really fascinating. And if somebody wants to hear about it, you could email me at will@1980snow.com and I'll send you a link to that episode. Where he explains it all. Okay, hey, that's enough of that, right?
Right.
Let's get caught up on 1980s news. So yeah, this episode we're going to be talking a whole lot about reboots, remakes, sequels of 1980s media that we've been promised, and whether or not, I guess, Hollywood is delivering or plans to deliver. And including in these brand new stories that just came out in the last couple of weeks, because it was just reported. Well, let me take a step back. This began actually in September of 2020. The Hollywood Reporter at that time had mentioned, they Hollywood reported that Ryan Gosling and director David Leitch, do you know how to say this, John? Leitch? It's he co-directed John Wick. He directed Deadpool 2.
I think it's Leitch. I've only heard it said a couple times. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I was supposed to say Leitch. David Leitch were tackling a quote, this is 2020, a quote, Fall Guy style stuntman movie. That's 2020. In fact, studios at that time had just completed a bidding war, and Universal came out on top with a $125 million offer to get the rights for the film. Well, just flash forward now to just a short time ago, it's been confirmed that Ryan Gosling will star in The Fall Guy. Now it actually is The Fall Guy, which is an adaptation of the iconic 1980s TV series.
Is it confirmed or is it just like Australia's talking about it? Or New Zealand or whatever.
Okay, you just blew my joke.
Oh, no.
Let's pause. I'm cutting that out. And like any archetypically American TV show, it will shoot in Sydney, Australia. There you go. Was it worth it? No, it probably wasn't that worth it. What were you saying, Cap? Is it really official or what?
Nothing. I lost my tone.
Wow.
You were saying, is it official or is Australia just bragging about it or something?
Well, this article just seemed like a whole lot of Australia. Come here, come
Like,
over
tourism,
here. We're going to throw money
right.
at you. Come here.
Right.
And it was being talked about widely over there that Ryan Gosling was to be in the movie. But I was wondering, is he actually going to be in the movie?
You think it's a ploy to lure tourists over there?
Well, because at the end of the article, it says Ryan Gosling's people couldn't be reached for comment. Or we got no comment from... So...
No, he's long been attached to it for a while now.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Ryan
It is official.
Gosling. He's Australian for Fall Guy.
Is that what you've been working on? I saw the wheels turning.
No.
Let me send John that Miles truck again. Go ahead.
I'm boycotting a Fall Guy movie. I don't care where you shoot it. Because I'm still waiting on the decade-long development hell cycle for the first Lee Majors franchise that is yet to manifest.
Okay,
the $6 million Man.
Yes. Oh, wait, yeah.
Are you kidding? Look, if you're going to jump ahead to the Fall Guy, no. Go back and get my $6 million Man, which has had Mark Wahlberg attached on and off for half a decade at least, and just... What would a Bionic Man be today? Would it be so thrilling? I mean, when we were kids, the idea that a guy could be like what we would today describe as a cyborg, fighting bad guys and fighting other cyborgs in some instances. Well, yeah. Would it just be the Winter Soldier? Would it be, I mean, we've got tons of superheroes that have enhancements. Yeah. Well, I mean, the $6 Million Man was based on a novel called Cyborg. And that was the premise. But Mark Wahlberg has even said on a couple of occasions that it would effectively be like a modern superhero film. He's just a superpowered person working for someone. But anyway, it was steal your thunder from the Fall Guy, but I'm boycotting the Fall Guy until I get my it's going to be called the $6 billion Man with a B now. That's the other thing, yeah.
Better.
Right. You don't get much Bionic Man for $6 million these days. Well, Kat, to your point or your question or to your skepticism, just a few days ago, Deadline confirmed that Emily Blunt has now joined this cast to co-star with Gosling. And they've also announced that the film has a release date, March 2024. Who knows? That stuff, like we're going to talk about when we go through this list. A lot of these films have release dates and then they just come and go and then the films never manifest. If you don't know, Fall Guy was created by Glenn Larson, who created so many TV shows that we loved when we were kids, Battlestar Galactica, Magnum P.I., and about sort of what we teased already, Lee Majors starred in it. And he plays a stuntman who moonlights as a bounty hunter. I mean, that premise alone, come on.
Yes.
Fall Guy's great. And Lee Majors sings possibly the worst sung theme song ever.
The worst?
But it was, look, he's not a great vocalist, but it was him. And it made the show kind of grounded and genuine. And Heather Locklear. Ooh.
Oh, yes. Douglas Barr was a sidekick. Yeah, the show ran from 81 to 86. And originally back in 2013, Dwayne Johnson was actually going to be performing as playing the Colt Seaver part, but that's a
bit much.
Yeah.
I want to see John react to Heather again. That was interesting. Did you see what he did there?
I didn't. I was looking at my paper.
He started going,
I heard it.
Made that show watchable.
And David Leitch, who's going to be directing it, as I mentioned, he was just about to direct a thriller, Fast and Loose, for Netflix that was starring Will Smith. But in March of this year, for some reason, he departed the project and decided instead to do The Fall Guy. I don't know. We have to dig into that. But
we need to research that.
I'm glad you mentioned Heather Locklear as having been on The Fall Guy, because this actually reminds me. Now, once again, it's time to play.
My name is Heather. No, it's not Heather.
What?
All right, I've got a list of shows here that either starred or had appearances by Heather Locklear or Heather Thomas, or both.
Ooh.
I'm going to name a show here, and you tell me whether Heather Locklear, Heather Thomas, or both appeared in them. They were roughly the same age. They were both icons in the 1980s. Heather Locklear went on to do things throughout the 90s and so on, and Heather Thomas took a break from performing for a while. Okay, here you go. Number one, The Fall Guy. Now, and I should give you a little thing here. They may not have just starred on it. They may have also just appeared on it. Mm-hmm. The Fall Guy. What do you think?
Well, we know Heather Locklear was in it. She was a starring role.
Do we?
But I wouldn't put it past them to have Heather Thomas on the show. I mean, it's possible.
What do you think, Kat?
I say Heather Thomas was in the show.
That's right.
Was it Heather Thomas, not Heather Locklear?
Heather Thomas was the star of the show. She played Jody Banks, the other stunt actor.
It's one of those Heathers.
But in a sense, you're both right. John was wrong in that regard, but you're both right because Heather Locklear actually made a guest appearance twice on the show as two different characters.
Mm-hmm.
All right, how about...
I have a feeling, John, regardless of which Heather, John's going to go...
They're both fine. There's no problem with
I had a poster of Heather Thomas that I caught at... There's a series of shots in different posters, but there's one that I think like most people can think of. What are you doing?
The Doors? Is it the one where she's coming through the doors?
She's
in
a
opening
pink
credits.
Bikini.
Yeah.
No, this was like a pose thing. It's not from the show. And I want to say she's like standing in a tub, maybe, or getting out of a tub. I'll share it with you, and you'll hang it on your wall. All right. How about BJ and the Bear and the Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo, which is actually a spinoff of BJ and the Bear. And I think both of those are Glenn Larson shows too, actually. Was it Heather Thomas, Heather Locklear, or both?
See, so now I want to say...
Just say both every time?
Well, no, but I have the Heathers confused in my mind. And so in my mind, I'm thinking that's Locklear. So now...
Guessing the opposite.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to say Locklear. Yeah, it seems plausible.
Oh, sorry. It was Heather Thomas.
I was going to go with you, but...
You're also wrong.
You're also wrong.
All right, how about Dynasty? Dynasty.
Heather
Locklear, Heather Thomas, or both? I don't know. My voice goes on at the end. It goes up.
It's because you're thinking about Heather Thomas. That's why.
I was thinking of Heather Locklear. Just take a guess. You're not going to know. Heather Locklear or Heather Thomas, or both? Dynasty.
I'm going to say both.
You're wrong. Heather Locklear was on the show. She played Sammy Joe throughout the entire run. We're talking about, I don't know. Like 185 episodes or something. All right, TJ Hooker. Heather Locklear, Heather Thomas, or both. And I'll give you a clue. One of them actually starred in the show.
Yeah.
Alongside Shatner.
I think that was... See, now their faces are blurring in my mind.
You
know the thing where they say, like, I haven't seen you in so long. I can't picture your face. And now I can't picture their face. And now I'm like... I think it was Heather Thomas. That's what I think. I think that's who was in... TJ Hooker, is that what we're talking about? Yeah.
TJ Hooker. Yeah.
Right.
No, is it Locklear?
Locklear?
I cannot. See, they're the same person. Have you ever seen them together?
I have not. Well, you could, because Heather Locklear played Officer Stacey Sheridan throughout the series, but Heather Thomas guest starred on one episode with her. So there you go.
Sure.
All right, how about the movie Zapped? Remember 1982?
No, wait. I got to look up a picture now so I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh, I should have had that ready for you.
Oh, there we go.
That could have been something for us to look at here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I'm looking at it right now. I got the poster on the wall right here.
It's something to look at. Yes. Okay.
In the bathtub.
Yes. What are we talking about? What was the one?
We're talking about the movie Zapped.
A movie Zapped.
1982 Scott Baio movie with, what was his name? Willie Ames. Ultimately, the guys that were in charge together. They had a film and either Heather Thomas or Heather Locklear was in it. Or both.
I'm clearly unqualified.
Say Locklear.
All right, Kat gets Locklear.
If I were casting the movie, I would put Heather Thomas in it.
Oh, man.
Yes! Kat's wrong. You're right because I already said Kat was wrong. All right, whatever.
Just edit it so it sound like I got one right. Please, just edit that.
We could talk about that film because it started as a PG film, and then somewhere during production, they decided to make it R, probably because Porky's had been a success just around like a year before that. And so they cut a bunch of, they shot some new footage to add in there to make it more hardcore, including making it seem as if Heather Thomas at some point is topless, which she's not. And she didn't know they were going to do that.
Oh.
The Love Boat.
Both.
I can't imagine the entirety of Love Boat. It's got to be both. Yeah.
That's right. Yes, they both appeared on there, but actually Heather Thomas appeared on more episodes with 3. All right, Fantasy Island.
Both.
I would think both there too.
You're wrong. Only Heather Thomas. And finally, who appeared in The Return of the Swamp Thing? If you remember, that was a TV show. Came out in the late 80s, 1989. I think it was supposed to be similar to the Adrienne Barbeau film that had her opposite the Swamp Thing. Either Heather Locklear or Heather Thomas or both.
I got nothing.
Locklear more closely resembles Adrienne Barbeau, so that's who I would cast.
That's right.
Oh.
Wait, now you know what she looks like? Oh, you have a picture there, yeah. Okay.
I have a picture. I had to. Right.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's still, I'm having trouble focusing on the faces, though. It's problematic. Okay, I'm going to close this tab.
That's why he doesn't know the difference. He never panned up in his entire life.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, and I don't know if anybody cares about that. I did. Hey, another 1980s news per Variety. We got another one here. Jake Gyllenhaal is officially set to star in Roadhouse.
Ugh, says Will. Ugh.
I mean, I want to be optimistic about these things, but I just don't know why you'd bother. Just make even something similar. Don't just call it Roadhouse to try to bank on something that people love already. Then you're only opening yourself up to criticism.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Oscar and Tony nominated actor will play the lead in a reimagined. And I got to tell you, in this article about this, the word reimagined comes up like 5 times, and everybody
quit it. Quit with the reimaginings.
Just imagine the first time.
It's right. Exactly. It was imagined. Continue it if you want, So, now the bar is under ownership of blah, 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 or whatever. Don't do it again. Come on.
And it seems like a media person got a hold of him and said, look, whenever you talk about this, you got to say it's a reimagining, okay?
Yeah.
Because everybody involved in this said that. So, including the author of this article who says it's a reimagined take on the classic movie starring Patrick Swayze. Amazon is got the rights for this one, Amazon Prime. So Doug Liman will direct the new movie. And after producing the original film for MGM in 1989, Joel Silver is back to produce again. Now, I thought he was Me Too'd out of the business, but...
Joel Silver?
Yeah, I thought he was, or something like that.
Not sure.
Well, Me Too only lasts until you forget about it.
Oh, is that it? I did forget what it was, but I have a feeling that something was there. But Doug Liman shared in a statement, "I'm thrilled to put my own spin on the beloved legacy."
What? Quit it!
Collection of words.
Why? Why?
Look, you just said it's a legacy. I can't wait to crap on this legacy.
And beloved.
Yeah.
Man.
So if you don't know, and I think most folks of our generation know that in 1989, this is Patrick Swayze plays Dalton, or James Dalton, who's a bouncer who's very Zen-like, who's hired out of New York City to come and clean up a bar in Missouri. And he quickly runs up against the town's corrupt something or other. I guess he's just a businessman that Ben Gazzara plays.
Yeah.
It was a modest box office success, but it's become a cult classic once it was on video, like many things that happened in the 80s and afterwards. Mm-hmm. According to the studio, it's a new take, a reimagining.
How can
if
it
you
be?
will.
Well, here seems to be where their creatives got together and like, how do we spice this up for a new generation? Instead of, in the movie, Dalton was a bouncer. He was a professional bouncer. So he went from one club to another, who had the best offer or whatever. Mm-hmm. Jake Gyllenhaal is going to be a former UFC fighter. Mm-hmm. There you go. Now it's modern and fresh.
There's the tweet. Hey, that is worth redoing now.
Right.
It might be fine, but Will, you're right on. It's like, why do you have to just redo? Like, if you loved it, if you like the universe, if you like the idea, you could tell the same story kind of again. Look at Ghostbusters Afterlife. They kind of told the same story again, but they continued it, and it was much better. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one, however, here's another spicing up of the film here. It's going to be set instead of Missouri in the Florida Keys.
Oh.
And just like other films set in the Florida Keys, this movie will begin shooting in the Dominican Republic later this month.
The UFC fighter thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is true or not, but I saw a blurb that Conor McGregor is supposed to also be in this movie.
Yeah.
Is that confirmed?
It is true. That's right.
Is like himself cameo-y or like?
Well, no. It turns out that we don't know who he's going to be playing, but we do know that he will not be playing himself.
Okay.
But you're right. And in fact, as Kat's alluding to, Conor McGregor, for those who don't know, is a 2-time UFC champion. This is his first acting gig.
But not, and I'll point out, an actor. Therefore, having him play himself would be a lot less risky than, what do you got? Ryan Gosling? Who you got else in the movie? Oh, this guy who's never acted? Perfect.
Well,
perfect.
Gets better and better.
Yeah, even if he changed his name to Steve, I mean, he's still going to be, what's his name?
Yeah.
Conor McGregor. I mean, right?
Yeah. Yes, I would think. Yeah.
Look, I want to, I talked to Paul Sun-Young Lee a long time ago, and we talked about being, I used the word, I can't remember the word I used, but she said, I'm glad you used that word and not gatekeeper, because a lot of people who are fans of a franchise, I think we were talking about Ghostbusters, are gatekeepers and keep new people out and younger generations out. But I got to tell you, I can't help it, Paul. I'm sorry. I am not that good of a person, it turns out, because when I read stuff like this, which says that insiders say when McGregor got wind there was interest for him to join Roadhouse, he watched it for the first time. Out! Get out! Get out!
Now, I got to disagree with you there. Just because he wasn't already a fan of the film.
Yeah.
But where I thought you were going with that is the whole remake thing, which was, why remake it? The existing one is still available to watch. It's not like it went bad. Sure. It's not like it's stale. You could still go and enjoy that exact same thing.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and there's, and it's not like we're trying to say, hey, you young people, you can't enjoy Roadhouse. We would love for you to enjoy Roadhouse. It's just that you got to go and rent it because it's probably not streaming anywhere. You know, you get it on a DVD. Yeah. So you think him not having seen it disqualifies him from being?
If I were a better person like you, I wouldn't. But I don't know. I don't mean to be a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're touching something that to us, again, I can't speak for everybody, but that is beloved by so many fans, the hope would be that you came at it from a place of being a fan.
Sure.
Which is probably true of Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm imagining Joel Silver worked on it, obviously. But I imagine the other folks that wanted to do this were motivated in part by the love of the film. So this guy to say, oh, you want to hire me for what? Well, let me watch it. Oh, yeah, this is cool. I'll do that. It's fine. It's fine. But
we'll see what happens. Or maybe not. Maybe we won't.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about in a minute. Hey, okay. In other 1980s news, in one of our recurring segments here.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
All right. Per the Hollywood Reporter, a live-action Pac-Man movie's in the works. Oh, boy. All right. So, a live-action film based on the classic arcade game character. For many folks, probably their first, through their entry level arcade game if you weren't playing Asteroids or something else before that. But of course, the project hails from Bandai Namco, the company behind Pac-Man and Galaga, Tekken, and Wayfarer Studios. So in 1980, look, we were just talking about it with that book we just gave away, I think. Oh, we didn't mention this tidbit of trivia that I know John knows. Originally called Puck-Man.
Yeah.
Right. But then the Japanese quickly realized what Americans would do to those arcade cabinets.
They're scratching the P and turning it into an F. Yeah, they changed.
So they changed it to Pac-Man instead. But everybody knows Pac-Man.
Because Puck makes more sense. He's like a little puck. See, that's what
he is like a little hockey puck, right?
Yeah. Not like a pack of something. Yeah. Look, he goes around a maze munching dots, being chased by ghosts unless he eats a power pellet. Then he chased the ghost. That's it.
Yep.
So how do you turn this into a live action movie is beyond me, certainly. I think the only thing that gives me any hope is that the project is from an idea from Chuck Williams, who was an associate producer credited with developing the first Sonic the Hedgehog film, which I actually think is one of the better video game adaptations that we've maybe ever had. It's a fun, family, light, adventurous film that seems to pay honor and be consistent with how we would imagine the character would be if it was more fleshed out. How you do that with a round circle that has a pie-shaped mouth that's just constantly chomping?
Yeah. Like you know me. I want this to be good. And I'm trying to think what kind of a story, other than the ennui of the meaningless of rambling through an endless task while being pursued by the undead. I mean, what can you do with it that's really Pac-Man? I mean,
more dots.
Outside of what was done in the 80s cartoon, the Hanna-Barbera cartoon, where they did not replicate the game other than it was pretty much Popeye. You know, the ghosts are after Pac-Man until he eats the spinach / power pellet, and then he chases the ghosts for whatever reason the cartoon is doing today. But even that is, you know,
maybe it could be like a cooking show because there's fruit, right? You have to.
It's bouncing by
get the
though.
Cherries.
You have to capture it to make the food by the end of the show.
I just can't imagine what there is in the franchise to do that's interesting. I mean, we just did Sonic the Hedgehog. At least he like runs around in an environment that's lush and tropical, and there's some basis for something. But Pac-Man is just kind of. He's more emblematic of a game. He's not even a real character in many ways. You know, it's Look, I'm not going to poop on it because I want it to be good, but I'm anxious just like I was with Pixels. Yeah, honestly.
And in Pixels, they just had it more literally how the game would be. This circle just destroying everything in its path. It was
an alien's interpretation of Pac-Man. In fact, of all the games, and that's what it was.
But you do make me think, John. Maybe it is going to be a metaphor for that. Sort of what we all do, going around in these mazes, chasing after things for.
Yeah, I mean that's all I can imagine. But you're not going to sell people going to a depressing movie that's about Pac-Man. Is the problem?
It's going to be in black and white.
Right. It's an art film. It's 4:3 aspect, black and white, shot on film. Only airing at the art house uptown, full of smoke.
Well, as you point out, in the cartoon, he was anthropomorphic. So if they did that, maybe he then has some more life. But unlike Sonic, they're moving real far away from the source material.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be there. I'll watch it. I'll see it. I've got to.
With his nachos and his cheese.
Damn. And jalapenos. Don't forget the jalapenos.
I love that the very serious Washington Post wrote an article about this.
Yes.
And they posited 5 questions about it.
Yes.
The best question may be the first one. Why?
Why? Yeah. Who asked for this?
They wrote, seriously, who was asking for this? This is not an IP that screams great source of Shakespearean drama. It just doesn't seem like this needs to exist.
That'll never stop anyone from capitalizing on the revenue stream, though.
Well, yes. And to that end, the last question is, did anyone record the pitch meeting? Writing, please say this exists, if only to hear the sounds that fill the room after someone says 2 words, live action Pac-Man.
I liked, I did not know this in the how section.
Yep.
It says, as the Post Gene Park wrote in 2020, Iwatani, who designed the game, drew inspiration for his design from a haiku by Matsuo Basho that translates to, so tranquil is the area that the sounds of cicadas seeps into the rocks.
Wait, what does that have to do with the game?
I have no idea.
That haiku inspired Iwatani to create Pac-Man. Something about that. The zen of that haiku somehow inspired Iwatani. I hadn't read the haiku, but I'd heard something like that, yeah.
But isn't in that Atari documentary, I think on Netflix, he tells a story where he was eating pizza and took out a slice, and that's...
Character
Maybe
design.
that's how he came up with the design.
The character
That
design.
sounds more plausible.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm wondering, do the cicadas where he lived say waka waka or something? I don't really... What do the cicadas have to do with it?
Huh.
They're also haunted by ghosts,
maybe.
just like Pac-Man.
Kind of weird.
All right, hey, that was plenty of 1980s news.
Greetings, we're Technically a Conversation, a podcast for curious people by curious people.
Every week, we take turns presenting a new topic, and the other host has no idea what the topic will be.
We strive to educate in a way that's loose and fun. Our topics are all over the place, from light and funny to dark and sometimes spooky.
Some of the topics we've covered include urban legends, civil rights activists, vampires, pop culture icons, the supernatural and occult, spies and espionage, science and astronomy, and other weird and random things.
If any of these topics interest you, give our podcast a shot. Listen and subscribe at technicallyaconversation.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Parental advisory, we might use strong language.
hey, if you like the show as much as John's fans like the show, and I mean John's fans of his other podcast, Gen X Grown Up.
John's fans.
For some reason, look, John, if I didn't mention at the beginning, I didn't. John also hosts a podcast that you should check out, Gen X Grown Up. It's about what it sounds like, stuff that affects Gen X Grown Ups and things that Gen X Grown Ups love.
And my audience loves you guys. I love you guys.
Yeah, and they seem to love us more than our audience does. But I guess if they're listening, or I should at least say they're more vocal. Our audience does not communicate as much.
My audience is not shy. They'll let you know what they like and don't like. And I fiercely love that about them. And they love you guys. So
we love them back.
And I mention all this because, again, one of John's listeners, who now I guess is one of our listeners, Chad, shared a message with John. He emailed it. Look, if you want to compliment our show, you can send it to me, will@1980snow.com. I open the emails, I read them.
Or head over to the Gen X Grown Up Discord and let me know. And I will let Will
John know. Yeah. All right. So Chad writes, hey, John, absolutely loved today's episode. And he's talking about our review of the horrifying backstories for
yes.
The toys.
Toys.
Yes.
Probably my favorite of the ones you've been on. Some of those backstories were pretty terrifying. Blumhouse could make some great horror movies based on those properties.
Definitely.
Yep. Also, the Beastie Boys talk made me really happy. I didn't realize you were a big fan of theirs. Mm-hmm. I know you more for being an Alan Parsons Project fan. Isn't that true? Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, out of all the podcasts I listen to, Kat has the best laugh.
Oh my gosh.
It always makes me smile when I hear it. Very infectious.
Confirmed. Yep.
Aww.
I agree.
Chad, thanks.
And then he says, I'm glad you're sticking around there at least for a while. You all have good chemistry together, Chad.
I agree.
Oh.
Yeah. And we're coming to the end of John's tenure here this summer too. Chad.
So just such a welcoming couple. It's just so easy to step in and yeah.
Yeah.
And Chad recognizes that.
If you're not continuing, you're going to bum out Chad.
I don't want to upset Chad. Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Do not upset Chad. No.
All right. So as I mentioned on today's show, we're going to be talking about the many. I don't know how we're going to get through these. I don't want it just to be a 2-hour show either.
No.
The many, we'll whip through these somehow. Some of them. There's very little to talk about, which is a point in itself.
Sorry, how about this one? Known update. Moving on.
Yes, and some of them I didn't research. So I was like, I don't even care anymore. But the nearly 36 TV shows and movies from the 1980s that we've been told would have a reboot, a remake, a sequel coming in the next few years, and some of them still do. All right. Mm-hmm. First up, I wanted to mention this one because I was really super excited about this, and I know, Kat, you were interested in this too. In fact, you and I talked about maybe trying to coordinate going out to see it. And I was working out getting us tickets and everything, but the timing, I don't know, something else wound up going on that week, and I couldn't do it, I know. I'm talking about the Karate Kid musical. So it's true, and I know it sounds bonkers, but they turned the Karate Kid movie into a musical that ran out on stages in St. Louis from May 25th through June 26th of this year, so just a month or so ago. Mm-hmm. And they adapted the film, directed by John Avildsen of Rocky and then Karate Kid fame. Everybody knows the film, of course, and
sounds great.
Ralph Macchio, Pat Morita, Elizabeth. What'd you say?
It sounds great.
Oh yeah,
John said it sounds great, but you were also shaking your head before.
Yeah, I know.
Getting mixed messages here.
Yeah,
I can't believe I hadn't heard of that, and then it was like I can't believe I missed it, and now I'm that sounds great.
Well, the good news is, let me tell you how people received it. So it was directed by Amon Miyamoto with music and lyrics by Drew Gasparini, and the book for the musical. And folks who don't know, the book is the dialogue spoken during musical. The lyrics of the words that are sung, of course. But the book was written by Robert Mark Kamen, who is the screenwriter of the original Karate Kid, the creator of the franchise, and upon whose life Karate Kid is based, at least in part. It's semi-autobiographical.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you 2 comments about this review. Broadway World Review, a review from James Lindhorst, who admittedly had never seen the movie. So he's on my shit list with who else is there?
Keeping Lyndhurst.
But what he said is, quote, the creative team has melded into a single unit to defy the odds by telling the emotion-packed story that generations have come to love in an original production that is both elegant and emotional. This production isn't just effective, it is remarkable.
So that's coming from someone who hasn't seen the movie.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I think that's kind of cool in a way, though, to have that perspective.
Yeah, I wonder if it's because it's kind of like what we're talking about with these other things. If you come into it loving the thing already, is that going to automatically color how you're going to see a new version of it?
I'm sure it would. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I saw Beetlejuice on Broadway. I love a musical. I will see I will kick a puppy to see a musical if there's an opportunity. And Beetlejuice, fantastic. I can only imagine Karate Kid would be. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed it.
Yeah.
Well, we could juxtapose this review with one from WBKR. Chad Benefield, a 50-year-old self-obsessed, self-described obsessed fan with the original film, wrote, "My main issue with The Karate Kid, the musical, is that in its attempt to offer a new take on the classic story." We're just really talking about that's problematic. In its attempt to do that, however, it's dismissive of some of the original film's iconic scenes. So Kat, that it's good news for people who haven't seen the movie,
or good news for it can be enjoyable because of all the other elements that go into creating a production. But if you're trying to get an exact match, then
it sounds like they didn't want to remake the movie. They made a musical based on the plot and themes of the movie.
Right.
Without reproducing every scene. I'm like, okay. Right. I mean, the only one you gotta have is wax on, wax off, and the crane kick. If you had those two, the rest is open to interpretation, I think.
Do we know if those are in there?
Inquiring minds.
I believe those are in there, yeah. And I think I can recall what scene he's talking about, but I might waste the time to talk about it. So, John, the good news is that according to executive producer Jack Lane, the next step is Broadway.
Yes.
Although they're uncertain of precisely when we can expect to see it. He said there's no doubt in our minds that The Karate Kid will be opening on Broadway in the near future.
Okay, so that's where we'll meet up. We'll get to meet up in person because I heard
Manhattan.
John say he'd kick a puppy to see a musical. So you don't have to kick a puppy. You can just hop on a plane and come up to New York.
I don't have to. Still could.
Wants to.
You could still.
Well, this is John. When we finally get together, the three of us in person, I'm gonna have two hands. One, tickets to Karate Kid musical. The other, puppy. How bad do you want to see that musical, John?
No.
All right, let's see. What else can we talk about here? Let me knock off ones that Kat at least said she was interested in.
Oh, man.
All right, so here's another of our favorite films that we were threatened with a with a sequel, reboot, remake. Splash. We've talked about this film before.
Yeah.
We love Splash. We've talked about how it's been censored on Disney Plus.
That's right.
Right.
They extended her hair as she ran into the ocean, didn't they?
Right. Yeah. They covered her butt crack.
Yeah.
Why? Everyone's got a butt. Well, I mean, most people have. Overwhelmingly, you have to be very sensitive these days. You even have to be worried about offending people that don't have butts.
Everybody poops.
Yes.
Everybody poops.
Somehow. Okay, there you go. Anyway, in August of 2016, Variety reported that Disney was in early discussions with Brian Grazer and Ron Howard's Imagine Entertainment about rebooting Splash. Now, for folks who don't know, those are the two gentlemen who brought us the original film. In fact, it's that film that helped launch their Imagine Entertainment. At the time, Channing Tatum was set to star. Do we want to see Channing Tatum's butt crack? Do we care if it's covered with hair? I mean, he'd have to have a mullet.
Talk about party in the back.
Yeah.
that is a Sutherland in the front, party in the back.
Everybody knows the original film starred Tom Hanks, right? I mean, Tom Hanks, directed by Ron Howard, Daryl Hannah.
Yeah,
we fell in love with Daryl
right.
Hannah for the first time in that film.
She was a delight.
So Tatum was supposed to play the mermaid, and Jillian Bell was going to play the girl who reunites with him years later.
A gender swap Splash?
Yes.
Well, then he's a merman, isn't he?
It was a reimagined take on it.
Reimagined.
Again, the big brains at the movie company like, how do we spice this up? I know.
I've got it.
Swap. And we will dare to show butt crack.
I mean, if only it's a continuation. I mean, acknowledge that the previous one existed. Give me a little Hanks cameo. You don't have to start over. Just build on what works.
But like the Washington Post said about Pac-Man. But why? Like, who is looking for that, right? I mean,
yeah.
All right, here's another one. Big Trouble in Little China.
Pork Chop Express.
Pork Chop Express.
Oh,
it's a truck driving movie, Kat. No, Will, you don't get to do that. That's appropriation.
Oh.
If you didn't have truck driver in the family, you can't do the air horn.
Blood.
It's not in the blood.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. The amount of times we wound up talking about truck drivers on the show is astounding.
It's organic. It's natural. They're the lifeblood of the United States. Truckers make the world go round.
That's true.
I think we need to do an episode about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just did.
I mean, that's true. In the early 80s, there was a real trucker, in the late 70s, trucker culture.
Started. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know?
Keep on trucking. That was a have a nice day of the late 70s, wasn't it?
Keep on trucking.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Oh, my God.
Yes.
Yep.
And the guy, there's like a bumper sticker, is like his leg.
Yeah, he's got a leg out and he's got his thumb out and keep on trucking.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Keep
I
on
didn't know what it looked
trucking.
like.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
Guys are so hilarious. Oh, that's
Cat
John,
and
did
I
you have
know.
a handle? Oh,
Cat
yeah.
and I know.
Oh, yeah. We're in the know.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk.
Did you have a
We'll
handle?
talk. I did. We'll talk handles later. It's okay.
Huh.
Okay.
Yep.
Was the word bear in it?
No. It was not. I was not a police officer.
Well, hey, let's talk about a movie that featured a guy who drove a truck. At least the original did. Because in 2015, it was first announced that The Rock would produce and star in a remake of John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China. Again, love that movie. I think it still holds up. I guess some people might challenge it today as them having culturally appropriated some Asian. Yes, culturally appropriated some Asian culture, but I don't know. I don't know that any Asians would necessarily see that. Oh, whatever. What hole am I digging for myself? Anyway, Hiram Garcia, who's the president of Rock's production company, $7. Shoot, I didn't write down when this interview was. Okay. In a more recent interview, let's just say that. So in a more recent interview, per Hiram Garcia, the president of Rock's production company, $7, he said, there's a lot going on with Big Trouble. We're in the process of developing that. And let me tell you, the idea is to not actually remake the film.
Thank you.
You can't remake a classic like that.
Yes.
So what we're planning to do is continue the story.
There you go. There you go. Right? So The Rock could be Kurt Russell's son, grandson or something. He's driving the Pork Chop Express. He could go back. There's so much you could do. Don't wreck the original. Thank you.
Is it okay for me to really like Big Trouble in Little China, even though I only just saw it about a year ago?
I'm not going to gatekeep you, Kat. You're welcome to enjoy it.
Thanks, John.
Yes.
This raises a real philosophical question for me now. Because Kat is of our generation, is she somehow, it doesn't matter when she... No, you know what, Kat? Here's the thing with Conor McGregor. He could have watched it and become a fan. He only watched it because it was transactional.
Okay.
He was offered a job. That's the thing.
All right, good point.
Did Conor watch it out of respect for the material to ensure that he was familiar with what he was stepping into?
No.
I don't think that's true. I think Conor is a meathead, but it's possible.
It's not, because he hadn't taken the role yet. So yeah, he watched it to see if he wanted to do it. This interview with Hiram Garcia is from 2021. So it's not too long ago, but since then we haven't heard anything about it.
No. It's too bad.
All right. Would you want to see that? I don't know. You know what? Because it's a continuation.
Yes.
Because I love what they did. Those guys did a great job, I think, with the Jumanji films. We have 2 films from Jumanji so far.
Yeah.
I think those are great that honor it, take it forward, make it more contemporary. A lot of connections to the old stuff. Yeah.
And you can feel the heart of the original Jumanji in those films too. It's still there. They did something different with it, but yeah. I'm in for some big trouble.
All right. Let's talk about something that actually is happening. Let's see. What's actually happening here? So let's talk about the Fletch reboot or remake. I mean, if it's not connected to the original film, it's not. It's based. In fact, they're turning back to the original books, and they actually turned the first Fletch book into a movie. That's what they did. So in that sense, I don't know what word you call that, because again, it's not remaking the film. It's not rebooting the film. Maybe it's rebooting the franchise, but that even to me suggests it has a connection to the original film. But this doesn't.
It's like they're remaking the novel is almost what they're doing. Right?
Yeah.
They're
Going,
like you said, going all the way back to the source. Yeah, interesting.
Rewind.
But you can't not be affected by what was done in the first one. I mean, that's in your head.
Yeah, that's true. So and yes, as a viewer, you're right. You can't really disconnect it. First announced in July of 2020, Miramax had licensed the worldwide distribution rights on the Greg Mottola directed John Hamm starer Confess Fletch. It's going to have a limited theatrical birth and a go day and date with premium video on demand on September 16th. So this one's actually coming. It's in the can, as they say.
And I can see John Hamm in that Chevy Chase role. I can see that.
I mean, John Hamm is a great comedian. I mean, or comedic actor. Very funny guy. But we don't know how funny this will necessarily be, because we don't know if the novels are funny or that Chevy Chase made them into what Chevy Chase does, you know?
Right. How much of it was Chevy Chase magic?
Yeah. But as we mentioned, the Chevy Chase films were adaptations of Greg McDonald novels. And joining John Hamm is going to be his co-star from Mad Men, John Slattery, in a cast that also includes Marsha Gay Harden, Kyle MacLachlan, and a bunch of other folks, and others. The story is that Fletch becomes the prime suspect in a murder case while searching for his heiress girlfriend's stolen art collection. His only way out is to sift through a long list of suspects that include his own girlfriend.
Oh my!
John Hamm's hopeful this will actually kick off a new franchise. I'm curious. This one actually I'm hopeful.
Okay.
Because what Fletch had two, right? It had Fletch and Fletch Lives. Is that right? They're just the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually like them both. I guess the first one's regarded as better as generally those sort of things go. But
this isn't the one that you are hopeful about, though, right? You said there was one coming.
Oh,
you said there was one you really wanted to see. Have we hit it yet?
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone I really want to see. No, what I was alluding to, I'll just tell you guys right now because I didn't do very much research on it. Because quite honestly, this whole thing of getting this to somewhere has become so complicated, I'll just tell you what it is. It's become a soap opera of sorts. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. What I was saying earlier is to think of a film from the 80s that you think you wouldn't mind them rebooting because maybe nowadays they'd had a better take, better technology, better special effects, actors, etc. And He-Man, I think, was a property that as kids we loved. And that film, for budgetary reasons and other reasons, they just said, we can't do the cartoon. We're going to do something else.
Right.
Yeah.
But today I think they could knock it out of the park. But what I didn't really research this because quite honestly, it's been going on for years. It's been promised for years and it still has been most recently changed hands again. Now, during that time, we've gotten 2 animated series on Netflix.
I was going to say,
the
cartoon got some reboot love, right? Or continuation love, I guess, however you want to look at it. I only watched the first couple, but the motion picture was a Dolph Lundgren joint, right? So he was,
right.
I mean, he was a name, he was coming up and he was a beefcake. He was another Arnold, basically. And they're like, oh, there's a strong man we can have in this thing. And I forget what documentary I watched not long ago. They talked about the production of that and how it was just, I mean, we came to work knowing it kind of was campy and not what we wanted it to be, but we believed the material. We stuck it out. Yeah. And it rides that line between you want to laugh at it and you want to like it because it's just, it's a little too cheesy. Yeah, you're right. I agree. Well, I would see a remake of that.
Anyway, I didn't really research it, but that's the one I think of any of these films on this list. Yeah. All right.
You doing, Skeletor?
Do it good. All right. Hey, let's talk about Lethal Weapon 5. What are your feelings about the Lethal Weapon franchise as it stands today with the first 4 films?
I haven't seen all 4. I've only seen like 2.
Yeah. Well, I've seen them all. First 3 are great.
You've seen them all? Yeah.
Yeah. And then the 4th one is kind of like, okay, they did some more of that. It's,
I love them all.
Do you really? Yeah.
I love them all so much that I've watched them again, even though I don't care for Mel Gibson as a person now.
Right. Yeah. Right. Wow. You were able to separate the art from the artist and go, this performance was enjoyable, which it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had no problem with it. My wife and I think it was last Christmas, we binged all of them.
So you're on board for a 5, right?
Well, I was. But of course, look, and they've been talking about doing a sequel for some time, and Richard Donner was set to direct and write it again, alongside and obviously create the film with Mel Gibson and Danny Glover reprising their roles. But the plans are put on hold following Donner's unfortunate death in July of last year. But shortly thereafter, Gibson basically nominated himself as the director. I think he said that Donner said to him, if ever anything happens, I'd want you to do it. I believe that's what the story Gibson said was. But nobody was there.
Nobody was there. No recording of that conversation.
My favorite depressing bit of trivia from Lethal Weapon, which might be the first or the second one, I forget which one, but when Danny Glover says he's too old for this shit, he's 41.
I
know.
And I'm like, oh no, I'm really too old for this shit.
That was the first one. And he's playing a 50-year-old who's retiring.
Yeah, right. Oh, that would be great.
Right?
Wow, that would be amazing.
Should have been a cop.
Yeah.
Should have been a cop.
So we really hadn't heard anything since Gibson again after Donner's death said, I've got it. Dick wanted me to do it.
Did he?
But just this past May, Gibson had said, while he was in this at event, said that the film is in active development. The screenplay is currently be working on, and he is most definitely directing it.
Starring Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum's everywhere. Ass crack.
Yes, he's in everything.
Gibson That's his lethal weapon. Regarding the story, he said that he will maintain the story that he and Richard Donner had already been working on, with the beloved filmmaker remaining the, quote, narrative driving force.
I got to catch up on my Lethal Weapons. I've seen the first couple, but...
the other thing is I don't know that I really care for Mel Gibson's films as a director. I mean, I don't remember Braveheart. I know I watched it. I know people love that movie, but... That
was my favorite movie until Guardians of the Galaxy came along. I saw it 3 times on its opening weekend.
Didn't he direct? Didn't he do The Patriot as well? That was him. He directed and started that
yes.
movie. Patriot.
Movie.
Patriot will make me cry every time.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh,
his relationship with his son. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes. Well, actually, the one with his daughter, where his daughter won't talk to him when he's leaving.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have a daughter, and I'm like, oh, damn.
Let's see what else. So I don't know if that's coming. Let's see. Let's find another dead one here. Okay, how about, hey, were you guys fans of the TV show Head of the Class?
No.
I can...
Okay, well, there you go. Let's move on.
Is that, that's...
That was resounding.
Another high, I didn't dislike it. It came along a little too late for me. It was like early 90s, I guess, right? So I was in college by then. And
it was started in 86.
It's a high school drama thingy, right? So
it wasn't a drama. It was actually a comedy.
Well, I mean, it's the drama of high school kids.
You're watching the right show.
I see what you're saying.
Is what I mean to say. It's the
Somehow
drama
you're going to make it that you're
childhood,
correct. I got you. Yes.
Well, did I mention I didn't watch it? I just know it's about high school kids.
I was going to say, we're not watching it.
Did you watch it, Kit?
No, because I wasn't really watching TV.
Yes, right. By the way, I've heard on many episodes, you say, or on our Facebook pages, etc., you say, no one will be surprised that I've never seen this. I want to do an episode where we just find out what the hell you were doing while the rest of us were wasting our time watching TV and movies.
I better figure that out.
Yeah. We might have to have a therapist there at the same time. Anyway, so I'll just tell you briefly. We had a Head of the Class reboot, and the original show starred Howard Hessman, and then it ran from 86 to 91 on ABC. It starred Howard Hessman, and then the comedian Billy Connolly took over at some point. Like John said, it's in high school. Hey, you probably don't know, we had a reboot of it in November of 2021.
Really?
10 episodes dropped, and then it was canceled. So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Even though it actually had good reviews. It's got a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes. But that
one blurs together with me with Saved by the Bell. That was another high school shenanigans.
Were you a fan of Saved by the Bell?
No.
Now that one I can understand too, because that one definitely began maybe that's what you were thinking of, yeah. Because that began at the late 80s. Saved by the Bell. So maybe you don't know that we actually had a reboot of that show too.
You're right.
Yeah.
No, that's the one with like Screech and Zach and all those folks, right?
Yes, right. And in fact, so the reboot ran for 2 seasons. It was rebooted by 30 Rock alumni Tracy Wigfield. It premiered in November 2020 on Peacock. And the original characters came back except for 2, Dustin Diamond and Dennis Haskins. Dustin Diamond played Screech. Unfortunately, he had passed away from cancer. And the principal character was not asked back for some reason. I don't remember what the issue was there. But by the second season, viewership had somewhat declined. And in May of this year, it was canceled.
There you go.
And they try to do so many, for someone who wasn't a fan of it, I've seen enough of it. They try to do those after school special episodes like,
yes,
Dustin has a joint, they all, how they deal with it. Who do they tell, intervene with your friend, those kind of things. It was all it was melodrama of the after school special baked into this little sitcom. Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about something that we actually did like that started in the late 1980s that also had a recent reboot, The Kids in the Hall.
Love it. Yes.
Did you watch the new run of it?
Yeah. We got a chance to speak with Kevin McDonald, do an interview of him over on the Gen X Grown Up Show. Wonderful gentleman. Great. And the series is everything you loved about Kids in the Hall, kind of like cranked up to 11 or 12.
It is kind of wonderful, right? You would think that since they're older gentlemen now, maybe they'd be tamer, more conservative. But no, I think it's that first episode, right, where at least 2 of them are nude by the end of the season.
Full frontal nudity at the end of the sketch. And they're just like, oh, this is great. Yeah. You're like, that's where we're taking it. They didn't slow down a bit. They're hitting on all cylinders.
That sketch is hilarious, too. Where it's 2 guys like robbed a bank, and the cops immediately pull up on them. They say, well, look, I got an idea. The cops are looking for people that were wearing clothes. So they take off all their clothes and come out of the car. And the cops don't recognize them.
Oh my gosh.
And they're both just like, to make sure, they're like, turn around.
Yeah.
No? Okay, hop up and down. No, that's not the guys. Right. They clearly don't have clothes on.
Definitely a lot of butt crack in that.
Oh, these guys are fearless. And it was the same tone. Yeah. I think it was on Amazon Prime, I believe. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're not a gatekeeper, John, because I guess I'll put this on my watch list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are your feelings about? Do you like sketch comedy, Kat?
Yeah. I don't think I've watched nearly as much of it as you have.
Did you watch the original show at all?
No. That's the sad thing here. I have no reference point for this.
Okay.
But I'd like to. I just made a note.
Well, it came out of Canadian comedy clubs and stuff. You know, the kids that make up the Kids in the Hall that comprise the group, just like Second City did kind of come out. It's another group of people that was actually drafted by Lorne Michaels to create this little troupe for the Canadian show. And those guys just gelled so well. They ran for, 4 or 5 seasons initially. And then this new one has got 1 season, maybe 10 or 12 episodes. And they said they'd like to do more. I think they could. It certainly was worth it.
All right, let's talk about a film I loved and absolutely loved in the 1980s, Short Circuit.
Oh, yes.
You guys fans of Short Circuit?
Yes.
That's a movie I am familiar with.
Oh, good. So, yeah, you remember this 1986 film. It starred Ali Sheedy, Steve Guttenberg, Fisher Stevens in a role he could not play today. Unrecognizable, but in a role he could not play today.
Who's Fisher Stevens?
He plays the programmer.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's right.
Deadline had announced in November of 2020 that Spyglass Media Group was remaking the film, bringing on the writing team of Eduardo Cisneros and Jason Schumann to put a Latin twist on the screenplay.
Oh.
So, okay, there you go again. The folks are like, how do we make this? Let's not tell a new story. Now we'll swap. Look, am I going to sound racist by saying I'm Latin? Does it sound racist to say that just by switching people's ethnicity? That's just a cheap thing. I mean, come on. You can have a Latino family. Just have a new story.
Do something interesting with the story. Don't make the thing that makes me go see it. It's like, oh, have you seen the remake in this movie? But this time they're ladies.
Right.
I mean, that should not be the draw that gets you into the theater. Because I've seen ladies before. They do all kinds of great things.
I'm a fan.
Have you?
Give me
Heather Thomas.
Did I talk about the posters? Right? Give me something interesting in the plot. Don't do it just, it's a gender twist. Oh, well, this one is like Crazy Rich Asians, but it's going to be the Goonies. Like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to, don't mix it up like that.
Right.
Just, good story is paramount. I'm looking at you, Paramount.
And some kind of a twist on it. You use, elements of the original movie and make something new.
Yeah.
Are you excited to see this then, Will? Or
again, it's not. Does I sound racist? You can't
say it again. I'll tell you. Just make sure we have a clean cut of it.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, my family is Latino. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's not about that. It's again about this idea that we just don't want our beloved stuff taped. John's already said it. Just come up with a new idea. All right.
Amen.
Yeah. Exactly.
Let's talk about revisiting another idea. Beverly Hills Cop 4. So. We've heard about this for a long time now. And quite honestly, because of Beverly Hills Cop 3, I was hoping they would never make a Beverly Hills Cop 4 because that movie is so terrible. Isn't it?
I've never seen 3.
Don't.
No. Yeah.
Don't bother. Okay.
They're probably going to retcon it out of the series with this next film. It'd be
but has your mind changed now? I want to hear where you're going with this thought. You said you did not want to see it.
I still don't.
Changed? You still don't.
You still don't want.
No, I guess I'm more optimistic based on what we're hearing, but we haven't heard much. In April of this year, the Hollywood Reporter confirmed that the film had found its director in Mark Malloy, who I'm not familiar with his work, but Mark Malloy replaced the original directors. Forgive me for trying to pronounce your names: Adil El Arbi and Bilal Falah. After that duo left to direct Warner Brothers' now ill-fated Batgirl film. So, they've got to be kicking themselves.
Ouch.
Eddie Murphy's expected to return.
Well, what I was going to say was I felt the way you did about a 4th installment in Beverly Hills Cop series until I saw what they did with Coming to America. Coming to America, the sequel to that, which I thought that's exactly what you want out of a continuation. This many years later, I like the idea of looking at somebody that had a hit in their 20s or 30s and coming back and seeing in their 50s or 60s as that character aged. Let me see how that person has aged and evolved as a person. And they did that with Coming to America so well. And so I can see Axel Foley. I want to see what he's doing now. I think that would be interesting. Now that I know, that Eddie Murphy, though he's been out of the limelight for a while, he's still got the chops. He's still got the comedic chops. Yeah, I enjoyed that film, so I think this could be good.
I was going to say, I'd go see it, except I don't know. I'd feel weird not watching the third one.
No, you seriously can't. It is like a
You would miss a
fever dream.
thing. Yeah.
It's like someone who fell asleep watching the movie, what they would dream.
It's like Terminator Genesis. Like you can just pretend Terminator Genesis never happened and just move on with the next Terminator.
Okay.
You could just, keep
Look,
going.
so I don't know. I agree. I liked Coming to America. I liked it. I liked that I liked so much about it. And I love that you're right, that it proved that Eddie Murphy still has got it because he's been such a serious guy for so many decades now since he sort of seemed to have left comedy. But that movie didn't feel canonical to me. That movie also felt a little like It's Not the World, but it almost seemed too polished and too contrived. But that might not be the case with this. Now, I wanted to tell you guys this interesting thing, though. A couple of things. One, just like we're learning, a lot of these films are they're promised and they disappear, then they're coming back. So we in 2016, Paramount said this film was coming out. Then obviously they took it off their release schedule, and then we heard very little until recently. But per this website, that hashtag show, and I'm going to tell you, this is the only website that says this. I can't find this anywhere else. They said they have an exclusive inside source that tells about the plot, the characters, and so on. I'll just give you a little bit of the plot here. It says, according to their sources, after Axel gets a phone call from an old friend about his estranged daughter, Foley returns to Beverly Hills. There he teams up with his daughter and her ex-boyfriend, who's a detective. And once there, he takes on drug cartels and a conspiracy inside the Beverly Hills Police Department.
Ooh, okay.
It sounds very, a little, some aspects of it are close to the original film, which could be okay. Like John says, maybe it's got great music, that's for sure.
Get that Harold Faltermeyer theme in there and you're set.
Yeah.
And as with all movies set in Beverly Hills, the film will begin shooting in August in Los Angeles. That was the third of my joke. Say that's... It actually is filming in the right spot.
That really paid off.
Yeah. Well, originally this was going to be in the news, so it would have been like 1, 2, 3. And then I moved it
Bang,
and I
bang.
forgot I had that. I forgot I had that in there.
I was wondering, like, wait, where'd the other...
That's why I made a big deal of that before. I told you it wasn't worth it.
One potato, two potato.
Banana.
Yeah. Do you know anything about Tron? Tron 3? Is that a thing?
Well, yes and no. So let me find my page here.
If you don't want to talk about it, that's cool.
No, I'll talk about it. Look,
if you knew something, I want to know.
Let's talk about the first Tron. I loved Tron when I was a kid. I recently went to revisit it, and it's a little tougher to get through. And it's not so much the effects, which I think are quaint and we can accept because they're part of a computer world, so that could look like whatever. It just seemed a little slow in spots that I think when I was a kid, this concept and the imagery captivated me enough to not notice the story was a little draggy.
I'd agree.
But love it.
Yeah.
We talked to Cindy Morgan a long time ago about Tron and how she got cast in that as Yuri. So what's going on with the new one is, we had a sequel in 2010. And before that even came out, Disney was already talking about creating Tron into a franchise. But at the time, Disney didn't have Marvel. It didn't have Star Wars. So it needed to create its own sort of, tentpole films. But it wasn't until 2015 that a Twitter account revealed that the name of the third film was supposedly going to be Tron Ascension. And then during a 2017 Q&A with the Joseph Kosinski, what does that name sound familiar, Kat? So he directed the Tron sequel, Legacy. And he also most recently directed Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, he announced during this Q&A that the sequel was on cryogenic freeze, as he said. But a few days after that, Jared Leto was attached to portray a character in this new sequel. But in June of this year, flying high on the success of Top Gun Maverick, Joseph Kosinski's doing the publicity tour, and he told Vulture that he had storyboarded the film, he had written the entire movie, and then Disney pulled the plug. He thinks that they pulled it in part because at the time they had approved it in 2015. They didn't have, Marvel. They didn't, like I mentioned, they didn't have any other opportunities to create a sci-fi franchise, so they don't need Tron anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That said, while promoting Morbius, which we all love Morbius, right? I've never seen Morbius. While promoting Morbius earlier this year, Jared Leto was asked about a possibility since he was announced as going to appear in it. And he said, I'm a super fan of Tron, and we are working hard on Tron with our incredible partners at Disney. We're getting closer. Something may be coming sooner than later.
Oh.
Yeah.
Disney has never has not made a public announcement regarding the future of it, though. So.
On board for a Tron 3. Tron 2, was it Legacy? Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
It hit on many of the right beats. CG wasn't quite where it needed to be. There was a lot of Uncanny Valley stuff, the de-aging of Jeff Bridges, and that's okay. I can look past that with deepfake technology. You could do much better now, but it's like you had the first Tron that established thing. You had Legacy that okay, now we've got our bearings. We know what to and what not to do.
Yep.
So do a modern sequel now, a Tron 3. I'm ready. That would, but I see where you're going though. Disney don't need it. They're like, we got sci-fi coming out our ears now. Why do we need Tron? But it's theirs. Why wouldn't they? They have full ownership and control over it. I think they could do well.
How do you guys feel about, we talked about Beverly Hills Cop 3 is bad. Talking about how Tron 2's got, pros and cons. And there's some franchises that for me where there's, the sequels the sequels are bad. And if I can not watch them, then I could still, Matrix is not an 80s film, but Matrix for me is a good example because I love the original. Right. And what I think the promise at the end of the Matrix 1 is not delivered upon in the other films. I think they were setting up something that didn't manifest.
Yeah.
But because I have one and I could just watch one and not necessarily watch the others, that's okay. But when you get into something like this, where they make a Beverly Hills Cop 4 or Lethal Weapon 5, John, for you, maybe since you didn't care for Lethal Weapon 4, are you able to enjoy this film and kind of just forget about or ignore? Does the bad films in between taint somehow the franchise for you?
Not for me. No, I can sort of, find something from anything. Yeah.
I agree with you, Kat. I just mentioned Terminator Genesis that, on its own, an interesting sci-fi movie. It breaks so many things in Terminator and it's just not a good film in that franchise, but didn't stop me from enjoying previous and the one subsequent film that came after that everyone panned that I still enjoyed, quite honestly. But there's some in the middle there. I don't mind if there's a bad one in the middle. If you do a bad one, you keep cranking out bad ones, then I'll check out. But you usually get a second chance if you have a stinker. Yep. What about you? Well, you can separate them, right?
For the most part. Honestly, I was thinking about this in the context of Beverly Hills Cop a little bit earlier, because if Beverly, I think what the trend nowadays is they try to figure out a way if they have a really bad film in the franchise, how do we write around it? How do we retcon that out of
Don't
existence?
acknowledge it, so you could pretend it's not there too.
Yeah, and it kind of helps. So in that sense, I think it makes it a little easier. I think for me, I don't know, maybe it's just some kind of weird OCD thing or something. I don't have OCD, but it's kind of like that in the sense that my fantasy is that every part of it is fantastic. Not a clunker in the bunch. But
you have an idealized expectation or more.
In Will's head, they're all green.
Well, let's talk about another one. And this one's actually in the can and coming soon, supposedly. Gremlins.
When you keep saying in the can, all I can think of is the ghost haunting the men's bathroom.
No, seriously, I'm a ghost. I'm real. Stop poking me. I'm real. I've assumed a physical form. I could do it by choice.
I'm corporeal over here.
Yeah. So Gremlins, we talked about this, some time ago, but the original film by Joe Dante from 1984, which, produced by Spielberg, written by Chris Columbus. It's got, quite the credentials here. It was a massive hit, had amazing special effects from Chris. I don't pronounce his name. Chris Wallace, I think you say. Chris Wallace. Originally, it was going to be a horror film. Chris Columbus wrote a straight up horror film, and then Spielberg toned it down. So of course, it makes sense. It's now going to be an animated TV series, right?
Okay.
And in fact, if you remember, this is one of the films that is responsible in part for the PG-13 rating because it was PG, but they're sticking things in blenders. People are getting run over by. It's just hard. It's pretty graphic. Anyway, so. Yeah, this animated film animated series is going to focus on Gizmo. It's a prequel. It's going to the story's going to take place rather than the 1920s and explain where Gizmo came from. In fact, it actually premiered, or the first episode premiered at a film festival, the Annecy International Animation Film Festival just in June of this year. And the first episode, a reviewer described it as being kind of like the Smurfs, where you see the gremlins living happily in a little kind of village. And then hawks descend upon them, like trying to.
Oh dear!
And then Gizmo, who ultimately we know as Gizmo, escapes from this from the slaughter.
Wow, you lost me with Gremlins sequel, then you got me with 20s prequel, and then you lost me with Smurfs. I'm all over the place with this.
Yeah, I mean,
do I want it? Do I not?
Yeah, I know.
The series is going to ultimately be on HBO and Cartoon Network. So again, it's animated, Cartoon Network.
Okay.
If you've seen the animation of it, for me, I don't care for the style of it. There's images online. It looks like it's for kids. A reviewer over at Slash Film described it, though, as the best prequel we could hope for, noting that, quote, it's funny without being super silly, cute without being overly childish, and it knows how to build tension and even be scary for younger audiences.
Well, so far it sounds like the making of one of our, the horrible origins.
The
toys.
Oh, yeah.
Yep,
While I have you both here, can I get some canonical clarification on the Gremlins? This has always bothered me. So what are the Gremlins rules? You know the Gremlins rules, right? Don't get them wet.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Don't feed them after midnight.
Don't feed them after midnight.
Yep.
When can I feed them? It's always after midnight.
Yes.
When does the window open? Is it daylight? Is it daybreak? Is it 6 a.m.? Is it I have to wait until dusk right before?
I think you're going to get your answers in this prequel.
They're going to tell me, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That always bugged me. I'm not sure. I'm like, they're going to go hungry because I'm not going to feed him ever because it's after midnight. It's like, dude, it's 4 in the afternoon. Clearly, but it's after midnight.
Dude, after midnight.
That would have been me as a kid in the 80s if I had no mistakes. If I was Zach Galligan's
because you had the governor on.
Billy.
Like, don't show up on the news, whatever you do.
That's right.
This dumb kid fed a gremlin at 3 in the afternoon. Clearly, no clock reading skills.
So no, yeah, you're right. That gremlin would eventually be a skeleton inside of its little home. My mom would find it only because of the smell.
Well, good
I wouldn't
news.
have told her either.
He's not wet anymore, so we got that going for it.
Oh.
This is great. We have starving gremlins and kicking puppies in this episode.
It's family entertainment. Also deserving of a PG-13.
Yes.
So you got a number of folks, new actors in this cast, including B.D. Wong, Sandra Oh, Randall Park, George Takei, and Bowen Yang. And the original actor, Zach Galligan, whom I just mentioned a moment ago, will actually be guesting on some of the episodes as well.
Wasn't there a famous comedian as the voice of Gizmo?
Yeah, oh, yes, it's true.
Yeah. Is he going to be back?
No.
Do you remember, Kat?
What's his face?
Exactly. Yeah.
Was it Howie Mandel?
There you
Is
go.
that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Ding.
Oh, hang on a second.
that's not the right button.
It's the wrong screen.
And my easy button's broken.
There it is. Remember? You got tap John. No, he's not going to be back. There's actually a new young actor I don't remember his name, is going to be doing the voice of Gizmo.
That's fine.
What I just said in Gizmo language is all he has to do is talk like this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you about another interesting one. Because it's only interesting because of nobody knows what the hell's going on with it. And maybe you don't care for the film or the franchise necessarily, but I wanted to tell you about Children of the Corn.
Oh.
This is interesting to me because we first learned about Children of the Corn back in the pandemic. And the reason why it stands out to me is because the film continued to stayed in production in spite of the fact that the pandemic now is raging on. We're talking about in 2020 when we still didn't know as much about it as we know now. And a lot of studios, pretty much every film was shutting down. This one continued to film. I believe it was in New Zealand they were filming. Kurt Wimmer is the gentleman who's behind it. Oh, Australia. I see it. Summer 2020 in Australia. The cast and crew agreed to continue producing it in isolation as a way to keep safe during this. And as far as we know, they were successful in keeping everybody safe. But even though it was done completed in 2020 and slated for a 2021 release, as of today, it's yet to be premiered anywhere. And while it's had a handful of screenings in different parts around the world, the production company's website still says awaiting release fall 2022, and it hasn't changed. It's been like this for a while now.
Well, we're not there yet. It could still happen, I guess.
Yeah. If you're a fan of Stephen King, you may or may not be heartened by the news that the the producer of it, Lucas Foster, shared with Variety that their version of the story almost has nothing to do with the 1984 adaptation. So this is interesting to me because, like Fletch, what they said is we're going to disregard the film and we're going to the original source material. So they turned to King's short story or King's. Is it a short story? I think it is. King's short story upon which the 80s adaptation was based.
Interesting.
The original films had 9 sequels, with only the first actually being in the theaters, the other one straight to video.
Right.
Of all his films, Stephen King actually likes Children of the Corn, where he famously hates essentially hates most of the movies.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
That's ironic. It's the one that he likes, and then they're going to make it completely different from that.
Yeah, of his films, he said, quote, I guess there are a number of pictures I feel that are a little bit like yuck. I could do without all the Children of the Corn sequels. I actually like the original pretty well. And of the smaller pictures, the best one is probably Cujo with Dee Wallace.
Aww.
Another plug for Dee Wallace. We talked to her just a few months ago.
Yeah.
All right.
And Stand By Me, another great adaptation of a Stephen King.
That's true, yeah.
Does he like that one?
He didn't mention that.
If he doesn't, he has no soul.
You're talking about Rob Reiner. Misery's another great adaptation,
He kicks
too.
puppies.
Yeah, that's good too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So, guys, like I said, there's a lot of these. What do I do? I just rattle these off here. These are, I don't know. Again, we should wrap up. It's been a while. Well, look, this could be in the show, right? Who cares? Look, we're running out of time. I'm just going to go through these. If these are worth talking about at some point, we will.
If you have a few left, give us the update on them maybe, so we know what to anticipate.
And we'd like our listeners to reach out to us and tell us if you want to hear more.
Oh, there you go, Kat. Yeah.
Or reach out to me via Discord, and I will tell Will what you had to
John.
say.
Join Gen X Grown Ups Discord.
Go to our middle manager.
That's how we get our mail. Okay, anyway, so LA Law, that was coming back. They shot a pilot and ABC passed. That's canceled. It's dead. We're going to see a couple of the original cast members returning with the rest of them being a new cast. Knight Rider, not happening. James Gunn, though, recently said that he had been talking to David Hasselhoff about bringing it back. But
well, they did a reboot already in '91. Well, it wasn't a reboot; it was a continuation.
Oh, did they?
And that
Knight
Rider 2000.
They've had a couple of spin-offs and reboots.
It was
yeah. Okay. I didn't miss
Last
anything.
Starfighters. I think we talked about this recently. Nothing new since the 2021. Because I was bragging that I talked to Jonathan Betchell, the screenwriter.
That's right.
But nothing new since Jonathan called me that time. All right, I'm trying to cut this short, not brag too much, because I won't. In April of this year, Nick Castle, though, at a con said that that quote, there are promising whispers from the original writer, Jonathan Betchell, my buddy, but you never know about these things until the money changes hands, end quote. All right, what else we got here? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Oh, so here's a short story. A few years ago, Kevin Hart and Will Smith were attached, and Kevin Hart was talking about how, they're working on the story and trying to get their own take. For some reason, we haven't heard anything about that anymore.
Funny though.
Don't know.
Yeah,
I think since of March of 2022, haven't heard
again. Quite
it's
odd.
about then. Yeah.
I'm interested in the Time Bandits, with Taika Waititi is supposed to be writing and directing it.
That's a good fit.
Right?
Okay.
Yep.
So we haven't heard anything recently, but in March of 2019 was when it was first announced that Taika Waititi was developing it for Apple. What's discouraging is that at that same time, Terry Gilliam said, "What? Who's doing what? Who?"
Oh, he's not involved? At all?
Well, he's listed as a executive producer, but he told Total Film that he was a non-writing executive producer.
Yeah. He's the guy from whom we got the name.
Yeah. And he found out about Taika Waititi's involvement via the quote web, he says.
The web.
So that's not good. And around that time, he told Variety Italy that he had not yet signed a contract with Apple because he had taken issue with the fact that there was a clause in his contract that it said he couldn't badmouth anybody. So we don't even know if there's a contract.
Okay.
Who wanted to badmouth people and didn't want to sign it? Was that
Terry Gilliam? He wanted
that makes
to be able
sense.
to free to say what he wants about the show.
He's always been kind of the contrarian from that Python gang. Yeah, he's the one that's everything is doom and gloom and like this was terrible. I can see Terry Gilliam.
He's the American. That's why he's the American.
Yep, that makes sense.
Twin sequel, who knows? It seems like it's moving forward, but they having lost Richard Donner on the what are we talking about? Oh, Lethal Weapon. They likewise lost Ivan Reitman.
I had heard a tiny bit about the Twins sequel. Have you guys talked about it here before? That it was going to be called Triplets.
Yes.
And there was going to be yet a third. And they were like, so you had Schwarzenegger and DeVito were opposites of each other. Yeah. And what I had heard was who's the opposite of both of those guys. And the third was going to be Eddie Murphy. I'd heard that.
That's right.
So, yes, we did.
And they actually lost Eddie Murphy because of the success of Coming to America. America.
Mm-hmm.
That sequel became so popular that Eddie became in vogue again, and he was getting cast in a number of different projects, and so Ivan Reitman lost him to some other projects, and they cast Tracy Morgan instead.
Oh, come on.
Right.
But
you got Schwarzenegger and DeVito,
away.
You can't get Eddie Murphy? Come on now.
Oh, man.
It's got to be
I'm just going to, I'm just going to crank through these again. We'll just, if someone want to hear about them, let us know. All right. We may have a Young Guns 3. History of the World Part 2 is going to be a TV series, apparently.
Oh.
Lost Boys is going to be reimagined with a new young cast.
Oh, boy.
The Goonies TV show, we talked about this a while ago. It is still moving forward.
Really?
And, we should talk about this on another episode, John, because I don't know if you were on the episode we talked about it, but it's it's an interesting take is what they're doing on that.
John's not allowed to be on that episode.
Well, he is because of, now you're going to make me talk about
it's
it.
It's a reimagining. We can talk about it.
It's a reimagining. It's actually based on something else that John is probably familiar with. All right.
Okay.
I'll say that. Who's the Boss with Tony Danza and Alyssa Milano's coming.
Okay.
Conan series seems to be dead. Major League 3. Let me skip. I'm going to skip a couple of these. Night Court we've talked about is coming. Quantum Leap is coming.
Speaking of Major League, we had the League of Their Own series is out now. They're reimagining that again.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's
another baseball franchise.
Yes, that's true.
Yep.
Toxic Avenger is in the can.
No.
Trauma. Right here, toilet flushing.
Can.
Starring Kevin Bacon and Peter Dinklage. That's maybe coming in the fall.
I'm a real ghost over here. Cut it out. Can I get a courtesy flush?
That's the right accent.
Should I just drop names every time I know somebody that we talk about, or no? Is that too cheesy? Is that tacky? That's tacky, right?
Do it.
Peter Dinklage, and I used to
it's
act
funny.
My old theater company buddy, Peter Dinklage. Okay, and then finally, Willow is also coming. All right, there you go. All right, whatever. You want to hear about any of those? Some of those we talked about already, whatever. This episode became me running through a bunch of things in 5 minutes.
Well, you said Willow. Willow's going to be a mini series, right? So we talked about that. That should be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 All right, lots of good stuff. All right.
I have too many things to watch.
An information-packed episode. I had a listener tell me recently they love when we just do list episodes, which are my least favorite things to do. I always feel like we're cheating.
There you go. Congratulations.
I like the list.
How do we end the show? I forget now. Okay, so hey, that was the show. All right, so that's how we do it. Mm-hmm. Again, you know what? Some of the ones that are coming, I am excited about. Willow, I'm excited about. That looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's a continuation, not a reimagining. You've got the original actors in it.
Good call.
Toxic Avenger, that's a film from the 80s that I think could probably benefit from a reboot. In fact, the original creator of Toxic Avenger, the original director and co-writer, said their version, the new one, is better.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, like He-Man, that was done by Troma Films and a super, just absolute tiny budget, just a shoestring budget. So I can imagine. He's probably got Lucas syndrome where he's like, well, now that I have the technology, I can make what I envision. Yeah.
Right.
He just does a bunch of changes to the original Toxic Avenger.
just doesn't add some CG characters and some new matte paintings.
Kevin Bacon and Peter Dinklage in it. I don't know.
Are they still filming it in Jersey City?
I don't know. They filmed it in Bulgaria, I think.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I should have done my joke again. Hey, and just like any show that's set in an urban city in America, it was filmed in Bulgaria.
That's
Makes
right.
sense.
There, we know comedy comes in fours. It didn't even come in threes.
Check my notes.
Potato, orange juice. All right. Hey, thank you to the wonderful folks who help bring us a show every. Am I saying it, Kat, or are you saying it?
I'm going to say it.
You're just going to interrupt me? Oh, you're going to do it?
Got the list. Look at that.
I wasn't sure what you were going to hey there. So hey, we want to thank our supporters over at Patreon, including our early adopters like Karen Flieger and Kathy Burke and Rick Parker. And also our Secret of My Success Level Patreon supporters, John Henderson, Craig Coletta, John Kaminsky, and our very own John Reddick.
Oh, hold on. Yep. Wait, hold on. Unfortunately, something has changed because just today I actually had to turn off my Patreon subscription to 1980s
Son
now.
of a bitch.
Well,
What?
I think it was, well, it's not, hang in there with me. It's not, I think it's fine and appropriate to be a contributor when you're a co-host. But if you guys will have me, I think I'd like to stay on as a permanent host, and it just wouldn't be appropriate to be a contributor.
I don't have that applause.
I need my easy button.
Yeah. So it's cool with you guys. You know, I think rather than being a patron, I will be your third chair, if that's good for you.
Thank you.
Agreed. Agreed.
Awesome.
It's okay. You can do that.
We don't have to give you money back, though, do we?
Uh-oh.
All of it. Yes, please.
I spent that
Are
money.
you looking for a refund?
I thought you're
that
not
money on a
FDIC
packing
insured. I was misled by the logo.
I spent that money on this book. We didn't have a sponsor. I lied.
Oh, really? Yes, sneaky bostage.
Well, John, that's amazing. That's so wonderful. And, you know, hey, look, we were just getting the, some accolades about how great we fit together. So, yeah, at least
I always picture bubbling beakers, all the chemistry.
Well, I have a great time here. You guys have been so welcoming. You know, you lost Ray, who was a huge part of the show, and you were so generous to bring me on because I was convenient and you knew my number already. And and as I told you at the time, let's see how it goes, right? Let's not jump in the middle of something and then we find out that everyone hates it and all the listeners write in and they go, get rid of that guy. And if those have written in, Will, you've generously held them back for me. I have not read them, so. But yeah.
That's the mail he receives. You only get the good stuff.
Yeah, that's why he doesn't read mail, because it's all hate mail for me. That makes sense. But yeah, thank you for the invitation. Thanks for the opportunity, and I'm happy to be here.
Yay!
Well, that's wonderful. So next week this isn't our last episode with John around.
Nope.
Then that's great.
So I'll see you on the flip flop.
10-4, good buddy.
Oh, this is trucker stuff. How do I feel so left out, I guess. Is there a way I can get inducted into this? I mean, my dad's not going to be a trucker now. He's in his mid-70s.
So it's a bit late for that. Yeah.
If I get him to buy a pickup truck, is that enough? He's got to drive truck.
You just got to come up with a handle, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how John feels about this.
No, that sounds
you need
too
a handle.
easy. I get a CB player.
Well, and you have to use it on the Citizens Band on Channel 19.
All right, Channel 19. All right.
Then you're like 45% of the way to being a trucker.
All right, I'll work on that. All right, hey guys, we've taken up above everybody's time, including our own. All right, we will talk to you next time on 1980s Now.
Next time.
Bye-bye.